Vitamin Water Zero Sugar has great taste, zero BS, and obviously, zero sugar. For those with zero room in their calendar. Zero patience for slow walkers. Those who get 0 hours of sleep on a Saturday night. Have zero filter, zero given, and zero interest in grabbing a plain, boring water. Grab a delicious Vitamin Water Zero Sugar today.
Welcome back to the Epic Universal Podcast. I'm entertainment writer Jim Hill, and this is the podcast where we cover the latest Universal news, rumors, and history. And as always, I'm joined by Eric Hersey. And how are you this fine night, Eric?
Jim, I'm doing wonderful, and it's getting close to Halloween, right? It's Halloween season. We got the Halloween Horror Nights going on. So just because it's close to Halloween, that also means it's really, really close to Christmas, right? Because as soon as November 1st comes around, that is Christmas time. So have you started to see the Christmas stuff coming out in the stores?
Well, this is interesting. Mr. Schul, who, by the way, will be joining me next week. Mr. Testa is got off the leash somehow. So it's Schul and I hosting Disney Dish next week. And because Testa gets access to these things, we got a Universal survey. And what's kind of interesting about the Universal survey, and we'll go more in depth into it over on the Disney Dish, but what's intriguing about it is that it's looking at future popcorn flavors to be offered at the parks, and we were just talking about Christmas, and of course the big Universal Christmas is of course Grinchmas, and evidently, one of the flavors that's being considered as part of the Universal's Grinchmas offerings is green cheese flavored popcorn.
Is there such a thing as green cheese, Jim, or is that just a color? I'm trying to picture myself at an Amish, village, and I remember they always have different styles of cheese, but there's not a green cheese, is it, or just a color?
Well,
because cheese popcorn seems normal.
Well, this reminds me of the, I have a line I love from Neil Simon's The Odd Couple, and it's in the very beginning of the play, and it's Oscar Madison, the huge slob is running a poker game in his living room, and his friends there ask, well, if you got any food? And Oscar says, yes, I have green sandwiches and brown sandwiches. And it's like, what's with the green sandwiches? Well, it's either very new cheese or very old meat. So,
well, we don't know.
Anyway.
Maybe they're getting the popcorn ready now and throwing it in a free or just some cupboard backstage, and that's how it's going to be green. But
okay, just as long as it's not a petri dish they're throwing it into. That's all I ask.
Right.
Okay.
Well, is there any significance? I mean, anything new going on with the Grinch? I mean, is it just the norm? I mean, that is the seasonal thing.
Interesting that you bring that up, because it turns out that Universal Pictures is celebrating the 25th anniversary of, now mind you, this is the Ron Howard, Jim Carrey Grinch that we're talking about, but November 11th of this year, the 25th anniversary edition of The Grinch will be available. This is the high def, the 4K Steelbook version.
Oh, there you go. Well, that's kind of, when we were down in Islands of Adventure last year, that is kind of what it is themed about. When we met the Who's and everything running around, that is kind of the whole theming. And that's the Grinch that it takes, hours to meet, not necessarily the Grinch that comes out and does the story time with the Lorax and all that. You can kind of meet him pretty easily, but that is the Ron Howard version, or at least the makeup says so.
Very much so. And in fact, also the Who's reflect the makeup design for that film as well.
And I will tell you, Jim, that is the one thing that I don't have a trip planned right now for the rest of the year. I don't have a trip planned, but I keep on itching, and I was thinking of Grinchmas and the holidays, and I'm like, oh man, if there's going to be a time, it's going to be difficult for me not to pull a trigger. So we will see if I make it down there or not before the end of the year. But I was trying not to. But that is one of the things that I found was certainly magical, was the Grinchmas down there.
No, they do a nice job. I always enjoy that. And speaking of folks who also do a nice job, we should talk about our sponsors, unlockedmagic.com. And if you're planning a trip to the Universal Orlando Resort or the Walt Disney World Resort, you should check out unlockedmagic.com. Listeners to the Epic Universal podcast are saving up to 12% on the price of theme park tickets. And they're also getting discounts on tickets to Mickey's Not So Scary. Are there still tickets available?
There might be. Who knows? You better check.
Okay. Okay. Likewise, Mickey's Very Merry and Jollywood Night. So, again, if you're looking for a bargain, be sure and visit unlockmagic.com and save today. And now, as we get started with this week's news, kind of a somber note to start on, Eric, right? Or,
yeah. And I mean, I think this news came out right after we recorded our last episode, so we didn't get a chance to really talk about it. But it is kind of taken over the news. But if you haven't been on Facebook or Twitter or anywhere yet, you are going to be alarmed that there was an actual tragedy over at Epic Universe. On the Stardust Racers, there was actually a guest that essentially became unresponsive during a ride on the 17th, and then later died at the hospital. And the cause of death was listed as multiple blunt force injuries. So, Jim, have you been following this story? Kind of hard to miss.
Well, what's interesting is, again, this tragedy occurred, last Wednesday, and you and I recorded on Tuesday night. And again, what's been interesting is, look, the folks at Universal are treating this seriously. The attraction is down for now. Karen Irwin, the president and COO of the Universal Orlando Resort, in discussing this, said, look, the attraction remains closed as we continue to work through a comprehensive review process in cooperation with the ride manufacturer of record. By the way, that's MAC.
Right.
And that safety is and always will be at the forefront of everything we do. But that said, that's the interesting thing about this incident. The ride operated as it normally does. And again, this dual racing coaster has operated in this theme park since Epic Universe, opened back in May 22nd of this year. And you've experienced this ride, Eric, is that correct?
Yeah. We did. We witnessed it, and the kids got to do it multiple times. I think they were riding all over the place. I had my fun. It is an intense ride. We will give you that. It is super intense for someone. For those who haven't been there but have been on the Velocicoaster, similar intensity levels. So it is an intense coaster. In this case, I believe, there's been I've watched a lot of the news stories, regarding it, and there's been some speculations that there was some people saying there was metal piece hanging and so forth, but it has been, I think the medical examiner did rule it as a death by accident.
Yes.
And all the statements are this ran like normal. The attraction was like normal, and that has been what is kind of what everybody is stating, right? They said the equipment was intact, procedures were followed, everything was normal. But it does look like that there is a manslaughter statute that is going on because of, I guess it's Florida's, their rules, essentially. That there is actually, and then the family did, they do have an attorney, a civil rights attorney, and
Ben Crump.
Yeah, have you heard of this before? He's pretty prolific, or his firm is. So it's not a local guy. They're going after it's a bigwig.
Yeah. Now, okay, and again. Look, this is obviously a tragedy for the Zavala family. That in fact, I guess we need to mention the name of the individual, Kevin Rodriguez Zavala, 32-year-old man. Now, this may be a factor to take into consideration that Kevin had a pre-existing spinal injury and was using a wheelchair to get around the park, but at the same time, Stardust Racers was a coaster that right from the get-go
you could transfer.
That's it exactly.
Right. So,
and just at this point, I think it's important not to jump to any conclusions. I mean, again, this park, this attraction had operated in the center of the park,
right?
And now, mind you, again, a lot of force. I mean, this thing reaches a top speed of 60 miles an hour. It's a fairly lengthy coaster.
Yeah.
5,000 feet?
Yeah, it's long. I think it is the longest coaster that they've ever built, right?
Yeah. So I guess, folks, Eric and I will keep tabs on this story as it goes forward, and we'll report, if there are further findings. But for now, Stardust Racers remains closed in the very heart of the park, and you talk with the folks at Epic Universe. I mean, they're of course, sad for Kevin's family, and they're just horrified that this happened. But from a park operations point of view, to lose a dual racing coaster, and a
reliable one, it was pretty reliable too, right? So it's not one that was down a lot. So
no, not at all. And so again, we'll just keep tab. And any thoughts on your side? Eric?
I was always wondering, and I always think to myself, like, how are these things tested, right? How. So I found an interesting article from USA Today. So it was just recently published, but it explored a lot of stuff from a couple years ago. But what I thought was interesting is I just kind of want to know, well, what is a case here? Like, what do theme parks and amusement parks do to make sure that we're safe? So there were some interesting statistics that I thought that said serious amusement park ride injuries are estimated at 1 in 15.5 million rides. So that is 15 million rides, and then one person gets injured on that. That was an interesting fact. And then in 2021, only 130 serious accidents were reported in North American theme parks. So this is pretty rare. And the reason it is rare is that it looks like there are pretty extensive testing that goes on. And I'm sure this would be a great topic with Jim Schul, because he knows that crash test dummy runs, whether it be computer simulations, all these things that happen with these tests before you even get in there, let alone the daily, weekly, and monthly inspections, that there's sensors and ride systems that go off. And truth be told, if a ride is down, I didn't think of this, but that actually is a good sign that the safety systems are working as intended, because if something triggers, it's saying, all right, something's wrong, go fix it, so forth. So it's not very common that something like this could or should happen. And that's good for us. At the end of the day, like, this is a horrible tragedy, but it is more of a one in this case, 15.5 million. So that is just something that, we'll keep an eye on it, and I'm sure there'll be news coming out of it, but thoughts out to the family, and truth be told, let's just see how long this ride will be down.
Okay, duly noted. And speaking of rides going down, in the other Florida park, Universal Studios Florida, we have a kind of an interesting bit of demolition going on. Is that correct?
Yeah. This was interesting. It just came out that so in DreamWorks Land, which is relatively new, right, Jim? Like, that's not, I mean, when we were first starting to record, that was like not open. That was the first big land that was opening.
Yeah. And in fact, I want to say that from your family's initial visit to, in fact, what was so funny is that you guys got there early enough to get on roller coaster without there being a line, as I recall.
Oh, yeah. They said, keep it going. We got to do it a couple times in a row without getting out. But so there is obviously there's a Shrek Land there, and it's right at the front. And it's primarily like you can meet Donkey, you can meet Shrek, but there's also a playground area, and there was a swamp like splash pad. Almost the point where I don't even remember, because I'm not letting my kids get wet in these parks. I'm just like, I don't want to smell you later. But there's a lot of people. But it is now torn apart. It was there one day, and now we have aerial photos of basically it's all torn up. So June 2024 is when DreamWorks Land opened, and we're not that far in, and we're removing an entire section. What's your thoughts? Is this a refurbishment, or do we think there's problems, or?
Well, look, water play areas, in theme parks, I mean, little kids love them, but from an operations point of view, they are challenging between drainage issues and I don't know how I can tell this story from a health code point of view. There's a famous story about the water play area that opened in 1998 as part of the new Tomorrowland at Disneyland. And that was only up for a couple of months when the park shut it down. And it was, it was one of these things that really got hyped early on, because Eric, what was cool about this is it was a water maze. And so, these fountains would go off
Oh, I've seen this, Jim. Yes, yeah. Go on. Yes.
No, I mean, it was just, the idea was that if you were smart and were paying attention, you could make it through the water maze without getting wet. And Disney, unceremoniously shut it down once after evidently the Department of Health came in, and it was like, guys, we have an issue here with fecal matter. Oh. And it's like, ew. And basically what the Department of Health said, let me guess, parents have been letting their kids in diapers play in this space, and they haven't cared about that it's a water maze. They just think it's a water play area. And it's like, yeah, you've got a problem here. And Disney, Disney's solution was shut it down.
Well, this one's kind of weird, because if you go back far enough in the DreamWorks Land, almost towards the Kung Fu Panda area, that's a lot of water as well. There's a lot of water areas. So I'm just wondering, maybe they just don't need this, and maybe they're going to put more seating. It's like kind of in the front and out of nowhere. I don't know what else you could put there.
I have to admit, I'm intrigued that this is already closed once in October of 2024 for a refurb. And then again, got walled off in July of this year. So I'm getting the sense that there might be secondary issues here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, normally I wouldn't say, all right, here's refurbishment of this, but it's completely gone. So once again, we'll keep an eye on it and see what's going on there. It's not big enough for an attraction, so we're not getting a roller coaster, but it's something worth at least looking at.
Okay. All right. So, but also worth noting that we're talking about Universal Studios Florida, and among the after hours events that are held in this park, we of course have talked at length about Halloween Horror Night, but there's also Rock the Universe, and we have some info about that, right?
Yeah, so this was, I remember covering this last year. I was kind of learning that there's a Rock the Universe. So I pulled it up. It looks to me like January 23rd and 24th is Florida's biggest Christian music festival. So if you're not familiar, that is Rock the Universe. And some of the headliners are Forrest Frank, Lecrae, Switchfoot, and Phil Wickham. And then there's also other acts. But the thing that I thought of and wanted to look at and want your opinion on is that they have a Rock Your Weekend ticket from $173.99. And that includes 3 days at the parks and both concert nights. So once we signed up for annual passes, and once you get annual passes, you kind of forget what like the cost of normal day tickets are. So I had to Google and look at it. That's a pretty good deal from what it looks like, because a normal 3-day park to park ticket usually runs anywhere from like $250 to $300 for that same time frame. So you're getting a pretty good deal on this. So if you're looking to go down there in January or so forth, this might be a good nice hack. Even if you're not interested in the concert, it's a nice hack to save some money.
This is true. Though we were just talking about Universal Halloween Horror Nights, and I don't know if you saw that the permanent version of Universal Horror thing, the Horror Unleashed in Vegas. They actually, I mean, it's been open for a month, 6 weeks at this point, but they finally did their red carpet just last week.
Right. Yeah, I think they just had their their influencer day too. Yes. I actually checked it out before this show. I was actually kind of looking at how things were going out in Vegas and also how things were going in Texas for the Universal Kids property. I'm very interested in both of those. Well, have we seen, Jim, have you heard any increases in terms of engagement or people are enjoying the Vegas any more so than we first had? I know they had their little speed bumps.
Well, what's kind of interesting is just today, Mark Evanier over on his News About Me website listed how Vegas is suddenly having sales upon sales. I mean, it just sort of like the notion of they're very aware of, I think we referred to this on earlier show as the gouge.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we need to turn this around. So there are special hotel rates going on. I mean, I feel for the folks at Universal who launched this thing in this economy, because it's tough to have your opening year, so to speak, when you're getting your feet under you at a time when people just aren't going to Vegas because they perceive it as too expensive. So I'm really pulling for this thing, but I mean, face it. The real challenge, Eric, is going to be, that first week in November,
right? When
the whole world suddenly pivots to Christmas, and it just sort of like, what happens when you're a horror themed attraction? At that moment. I mean, right now there's curiosity, and it's the brand new thing in Vegas. But again, we are at this point, we are recording on September 23rd. And so there are 5 weeks between now and, a Halloween proper. And again, that it's that first week in November. I kind of dread, there's a part of me that almost thinks like I need to buy a plane ticket to Vegas just to go. Because I worry that, maybe this won't be there next year.
Well, Jim, so. I did pull up their reviews on Google, and as someone who handles that, it's a 3.7. So it's not necessarily there. There's 5s and there's a lot of 1s. So I'm not sure even if those that are going, if they have it all figured out yet. And I was looking at recency and so forth, and it still seems like there's, it's somewhat underwhelming for some of those going. So I don't know. We will see. Let's keep an eye. And you're right. November 1st is going to be the real telltale, because I don't think they have any major Christmas properties. Do they? Do they have like the Krampus or one of those Santa Claus that is the killer? I mean, because that's the answer for the holiday season. But
that David Harbour film, I stumbled on it on cable one night, and I was almost appalled at how entertaining it was.
Right.
I mean, it is the meanest version of Home Alone you'll ever see. But still weirdly enjoyable.
Yeah. No, well, we'll keep an eye on all that. That is certainly, and anybody that, hey, if anybody's out there in Vegas, reach out and tell us what you've thought. We'd love to hear some firsthand accounts of how it went.
And speaking of reaching out, when we get back, we're going to share a comment that a Epic Universal listener sent in through Instagram that led to this week's feature. But first, this.
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, it's Paris. I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
Wish you could become a morning person? You know the type, up before the sun, early morning runs, first one to the office with donuts and a smile. How do they do it? Easy. With the new Galaxy Watch 8, sleep tracking and personalized insights from Samsung Health help you improve so you can wake up to a whole new you. One who, dare I say it, skips the snooze? It's possible. Train your sleep with Galaxy Watch 8. Learn more at Samsung.com. Requires compatible Samsung Galaxy phone, Samsung Health app, and Samsung account.
And we're back. Okay, Eric. In fact, you were the one who shared this message that came in from Instagram from an Ernesto Mendita. That's a great name. I'm sorry. My last name's Hill. That sounds really colorful. Mendita. Okay. Anyway, Ernesto reached out and said, "Hey, Eric and Jim, big fan of the podcast. Would it be possible to do a show about the inspiration for Universal's Cabana Bay Beach Resort? Is a big mid-century modern fan. This place feels like the mecca for that aesthetic." And, well, first of all, thanks for reaching out, Ernesto. And by the way, you and Mr. Testa share a love of mid-century modern, which, for those of you who don't know, this is a design style that started back in the late 1930s, early 1940s, and really reached its apex in the mid-1960s. And well, today, mid-century modern is celebrated for its smart integration of indoor and outdoor spaces, not to mention its use of both organic and geometric shapes. And let's not forget about the practical and honest use of materials like wood, plastic, and metal, which is what altogether gives mid-century modern this almost timeless quality. So why did Universal opt to go with this particular style for the Cabana Bay Beach Resort, which, by the way, when phase one of this project, which was built on a 37-acre chunk of land to the south of Islands of Adventure along Turkey Lake Road, when this opened in March of 2012, it was only Universal's fourth on-site hotel. Now, if you count the Helios Grand Hotel, the Terra Luna, and the Stella Nova, which were added to the Universal Land Resort as part of the Epic Universal Expansion Project. By the way, Universal team members actually reached out and wanted the two of us to know, Eric, that this specific part of the Universal Orlando Resort is known as the South Campus.
Oh, okay. That's the official. We'll refer to it as the South Campus.
There we go, because evidently there's the main campus and the South Campus. But anyway, if you count the Helios, the Terra Luna, and the Stella Nova, the Universal Orlando Resort now has 11 on-site hotels. And so think about that. From 2012 to 2025, Universal had 7 on-site hotels. We'll just run through them quickly. We got the Low Sapphire Falls that opens July of 2016. That adds 1,000 rooms to the inventory. Then there's the Aventura that opens August of 2018. That's another 600 rooms. Then we get the first of the Endless Summers, the Surfside Inn in Suites. That's June of 2019. 750 rooms. That's then followed by Endless Summers Dockside Inn and Suites. That, because of pandemic-related reasons, doesn't open till December of 2020. But that one, Eric, that's 2,050 rooms. I mean,
yeah,
huge. And then, of course, we get the Stella Nova, January of this year, 750 rooms. Terra Luna, that opens 2 months after that, March of 2025, another 750 rooms. And then, of course, we get the Universal Grand Helios Hotel, and that opens with the Epic Universe Park May 22nd of this year, and that's 500 rooms. So, Eric, that's 6,400 hotel rooms in total. Added in one single 13-year span. And when you take into consideration prior to this explosive period of expansion, the Universal Orlando Resort only had 4,400 hotel rooms on site. I mean, it's just sort of like, wow. The kicker here is that if we go all the way back to when Universal Studios Florida first opened, June of 1990, there were no Universal hotels in Orlando.
That was going to be my question, because I just don't remember one opening with it. Yeah, you said there were zero.
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, and now, mind you, when MCA Inc., the then parent company of Universal Destinations and Experiences, when they bought that 423-acre parcel at the intersection of I-4 and the Florida Turnpike back in July of 1981, I mean, there was certainly enough land there for a theme park and a couple of on-site hotels. And hell, the original site plan for Universal City Florida, again, that was what the project was called back in 81, Universal City Florida, rather than the Universal Orlando Resort. The theme park and then the production facility, because remember, that was the whole gimmick.
Yeah.
It was going to be a working studio. That was only going to cover 130 acres of, again, this 423-acre parcel. So there were nearly 200 acres left for future expansion. But Lou Wasserman, the then head of MCA, cautious guy. He was a big believer in the whole, you got to walk before you can run philosophy of business, which is why Lou wanted to get the Florida equivalent of Universal Studios Hollywood, the attraction the company was running out in Southern California, up and running before Universal then explored the possibility of building a few on-site resorts to then complement the theme park. And then it took longer than Lou initially expected to get Universal Florida project in motion. The original plan was ground would break in 1984, and for various reasons, Eric, that didn't happen till '87. And then the park itself opens, as we mentioned earlier in the show today, June 1990. And as we've discussed at length on earlier episodes of this podcast, Universal Florida had a rough couple of years initially. It took a while for this theme park to finally find its footing. But by September 1993, the folks back in Hollywood are going over the books, and it's all right. Now they're confident enough in how Universal Studios Florida, the theme park, is doing that they announce, okay, we're now going to turn the 840-acre parcel. And by the way, over the past 12 years, whenever the opportunity arose, Universal would grab additional pieces of real estate that were directly adjacent to that original 423-acre parcel, sort of betting on the project future. Anyway, at this point, it's okay. We're going to make this into a destination resort. We're going to build a second theme park. We're going to have a nighttime entertainment complex, and we're going to have several on-site hotels. But where this gets interesting, Eric, is that the folks at MCA hadn't built any hotels yet. I mean, not anywhere. I mean, for example, the two hotels that were right outside of Universal Studios Hollywood, the Sheraton Universal Hotel that opened in 1969, and then there was the Hilton Los Angeles at Universal City that opened in 84. Those two structures were built by their respective hotel chains.
Right.
So Universal, having no experience when it comes to building hotels, it's like, all right, let's partner with Lowe's. I mean, they built hotels around the globe. So this deal gets announced May of 1996, and initially just calls for the construction of two on-site luxury hotels. And please note that specific phrase I just used, luxury hotels. in the initial announcement of this deal between Universal and Lowe's, they actually mentioned their specific business plan. And quoting now directly from the press release, Eric, they're targeting high-end customers, such as those who currently patronize Disney's 904-room Grand Floridian Beach Resort. And the two first two hotels that Lowe's was looking to build on site at what, yet again, I stole this name, the Universal Escape Resort. Anyway,
Beautiful.
There was the Portofino Bay Resort, 750-room hotel that was designed to resemble a Mediterranean fishing village. And a weird little story spinning off of the Portofino. The reason this got chosen as a theme is this is where Steven Spielberg and Kate Capshaw went for their honeymoon after they got married.
I would have got that one right on trivia, Jim. I knew that one.
There we go. There we go. All right. Speaking of which, have we mentioned this in the show yet about the what is it? The 3-part Epic Universe documentary. What is it? September 29th finally drops on Peacock, right?
Yeah, Monday. We'll probably have a lot more to talk about. Yeah, on Monday. So if you're listening now on Friday, you got a couple days on Monday. I think it's the first. I don't know if they're going to drop them all at once, but yeah, I'm sure we'll hopefully get some more Steven Spielberg-esque news.
Well, there we go.
Right?
I was about to say, boy, really? That Steven influenced that too? Go figure. All right. Anyway, and then in addition to the Portofino, there was the Royal Bali Hotel, a 1,200-room hotel that was supposed to have a South Seas theme. And we'll get to why this particular business plan, again, targeting high-end customers, kind of bit Universal in the butt in a moment. But first, this.
When your investors, customers, and workers demand more from your business, make it happen with SAP. The AI-powered capabilities of SAP can help you streamline costs, connect with new suppliers, and manage payroll, even when your business is being pulled in different directions. To deliver a quality product at a fair price, while paying your people what they're worth too, so your business can stay unfazed. Learn more at sap.com/uncertainty.
Disney Plus wants to know, are you ready? For Marvel Studios' Thunderbolts, The New Avengers, now streaming on Disney Plus.
Let's do this.
One of the best Marvel movies of all time is now streaming on Disney Plus.
Hey, you weren't listening to me.
I said Thunderbolts, The New Avengers is now streaming on Disney Plus.
Meet the New Avengers.
That's a cool name.
Marvel Studios' Thunderbolts, The New Avengers, rated PG-13, now streaming on, you guessed it, Disney Plus.
This episode is brought to you by FXX and Hulu. An all-new season of Futurama is back, blending heartfelt moments with razor-sharp humor while accidentally saving the day. The Planet Express crew is back, defying gravity and common sense. From the creator of The Simpsons comes 10 new episodes, where the romance is hotter, the threats are bigger, and the action hits harder. Don't miss the all-new season of Futurama. Watch it Mondays on FXX or stream it on Hulu.
And we're back. All right, Eric, again, just to review here, May of 1996. And Universal, because it has no experience building hotels, partners with Lowe's to build 2 luxury hotels at Epic, at a Universal Escape. Which again is the name of this destination resort that the company's building in Florida, which once was a single theme park, Universal Studio Florida, but soon will be 2 theme parks, a nighttime entertainment district, and again, the 2 aforementioned luxury hotels. Now, mind you, this soon becomes 3 on-site hotels with the announcement of the Hard Rock Hotel. And Eric, the Hard Rock Cafe had long been a part of the Universal Orlando project. In fact, the on-site hotel, which first of all, restaurant was shaped like a giant guitar.
Yeah.
It had a front door facing the Universal Studios Florida parking lot and a back door that allowed guests who were inside the park during the day to come in and dine, grab, get a breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever. What's interesting about this is that restaurant actually opened to the public in April of 1990, 2 months before the theme park did.
Wow. I didn't know that it was there from the get-go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's just a part of me that oh man, if I had known, wouldn't it have been cool to, just sort of slip out the back door and at least stand there and, take a look at the park under construction. But anyway, long story short, the Hard Rock gets into the hotel business in March of 1995 with the opening of the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. And that venture is so successful right from the get-go that Hard Rock's parent company then begins looking for similar expansion opportunities in other tourist destinations around the globe. And given that the Hard Rock Cafe restaurant at Universal Studios Florida was so hugely successful, well, building another Hard Rock hotel there just seemed like a no-brainer. Now, to smooth the path for this project, the folks at Hard Rock agreed to have their Orlando hotel built by the folks at Lowe's. So if we jump ahead now to 1998, we have Universal and Lowe's securing $600 million to finance the construction of these three luxury hotels. So anyway, jump ahead now, May 99. Islands Adventure opens. So does the Florida version of City Walk. As for those luxury hotels, though, they're a little behind schedule. In fact, the Lowe's Portofino, it doesn't open till September 10th of 1999. That's some 3.5 months after Islands of Adventure opens. Hard Rock? Well, that doesn't open to the public till some 15.5 months after that. We're talking January 19th, 2001. And then the Lowe's Royal Pacific, evidently they dropped the Royal Bali name sometime between, when they broke ground and opening day. But that doesn't open its doors for, 17 months later. So that's June of 2002? And by this time, Universal managers have abandoned their whole original branding of the resort, again, that Universal Escape name, in favor of something they felt was a much more clear branding of what the company was actually operating down in Central Florida, which was the Universal Orlando Resort. But that said, Eric, Universal now finds itself dealing with another issue down there in Florida. Those three luxury hotels that Lowe's had built on site, which, as lovely as they were and still are, by the way, because of their price points, there was this large swath of folks who regularly went down to Orlando to experience its theme parks that were not staying on property at Universal. And again, remember, you paid $600 million. You got all that financing lined up it's in order to construct the Portofino, the Hard Rock, and the Royal Pacific. So that loan still needs to be paid off. And so it's not like the Universal Orlando Resort to get, could entertain the idea of, well, we could lower the cost of booking a room at these hotels. So that people who say are staying at Disney's moderates or values would come over and then give, our hotels here at Universal Orlando a try. And, Eric, this was a real point of frustration for the folks at Universal. There was this whole cadre of dedicated Disney fans who were just not willing to give Universal Studios Florida and Islands of Adventure a chance because they couldn't afford to stay at the Portofino, the Hard Rock, or the Royal Pacific. And that was because after all their trips to Disney and having the typical Walt Disney World vacation experience where you spend the day in the theme park and then you use resort transportation to get back to your on-site hotel, and then you get up the next morning and you do the same thing over again. And so it's like, how are we going to change this?
Right.
But the game changer was the 1-2 punch of the original Wizarding World of Harry Potter, opening at Islands of Adventure in June of 2010. And then Comcast, just, I want to say 7 months later, beginning its acquisition of Universal. And we've talked at length on this podcast about the absolute torrent of money that began pouring into Universal's coffers once they began selling butterbeer down there in Florida. And let's be honest here, a lot of this money is coming from the Hersey family. But more to the point, how their new bosses at Comcast, who absolutely loved the theme park business, were willing to hand Universal Creative this fire hose of cash. And it's like, expand that what you're doing down in Florida. Let's do some stuff, So, all right. So we've talked on this very podcast how at Comcast behest, Universal Creative fast-tracked the expansion of Harry Potter down in Orlando. That's how Universal Studios Florida got its Diagon Alley up and running by July of 2014. But what we haven't talked about previously is what this meant to the hotel side of that very same resort. So again, it's January of 2011. Comcast now owns 51% of Universal, which is when they turn to the destination and experiences people and say, what do you need? And the folks who run the Florida resort say, we have 3 on-site luxury hotels. But what we really need is the universal equivalent of a value and a moderate resort. And if we're going to expand our clientele who stay here on property at our resort, well, we need what Disney has. We need an all-star. So, Universal Creative does a research trip, Eric. They drive on over to Disney and they book rooms at the All-Star Sports, which first opened April of 1994. All-Star Music, that opens November that same year, 94. And then the All-Star Movies, which I wasn't aware of this, that didn't open till nearly 5 years later, January of 99.
I would have lost that one on trivia because I did not know that.
Yeah. But by the way, combine All-Star Sports, music, and movies, total of 4,444 rooms, which seems weirdly specific, Eric. It's just sort of.
Can touring plans confirm that? Do we get a counter?
Okay, I'll check with this Atesta. But anyway, the folks at Universal Creative take a cold-blooded look at all 3 of the All-Stars, and they say, oh, look, Disney calls this place a resort, but if we're being honest, this is barely a hotel. This is honestly more of a motel. And if we're going to do something similar over at Universal Orlando, a motel, well, what do we do? And this, Eric, this is when the folks at Universal Creative have an absolute genius idea. So again, if you're going to build a motel in Florida in the early 2010s, well, why not really lean into that idea? Build the sort of motel that guests specifically would expect to see if they were vacationing down in Florida, but not in Central Florida. And again, not in 2010, but rather, what if it were the sort of motel that their parents used to stay in when they traveled down to the Sunshine State prior to there being a Disney World? So this is the early 1960s, and the preferred vacation destination then was Florida's beaches. And so, again, and look, this is a big roll of the dice on Universal's part, and sorry, Ernesto, we'll get to the specifics of how the Cabana Beach Resort came together on next week's edition of the Epic Universal podcast.
There you go. Well, it's funny, Jim, because you're telling this story about the hotel, when we first booked our first trip and we knew we needed to stay on property, we eyeballed the Hard Rock, because that is I'm a Hard Rock fan. I love the restaurants. I love rock and roll. My dad was a drummer, so I'm just all in that. But I could not, I looked at the price tag and I said, maybe not this time around. And guess where we stayed? We stayed at the Cabana Bay, and that was our first. And I kind of fell in love with that one as well. So I'm really excited to hear more about this come next week. But it's funny how this all kind of played out. The whole price point, getting people to go from Disney over to Universal. I'm guessing it might have worked out for them.
It did, and it certainly worked out for me because in my own personal case, Nancy had all of these memories from her childhood of her family going to Cocoa Beach. So when they invited us down for the opening of the hotel in what was this? This was March of 2014. It just resonated with her in a big way. But again, we're going to save those stories for next week's show. So and with that, folks, that's going to do it for this week. And again, just keying off of Ernesto's post on Instagram, if you have topics or suggestions for future shows here on the Epic Universal podcast, feel free to send those over through social media or connect with us directly at jimhillmedia.com. And anyway, on behalf of Mr. Hersey, thanks for listening, and we will be back next week.
ABC Wednesday, Shifting Gears is back.
He has arisen.
Tim Allen and Kat Dennings return in television's #1 new comedy.
What?
With a star-studded premiere including Jenna Elfman, Nancy Travis, and...
Hey, buddy!
A big home improvement reunion.
Welcome.
Oh, boy.
That guy's a tool.
Shifting Gears, season premiere Wednesday, 8/7 Central on ABC, and stream on Hulu.